2 years! Can you believe that? 2 full years since the end of October 2017 when our favorite letter of the alphabet started posting on 4chan. Terrible twos, man. 2 full years. How time flies. So, to honor it, to commemorate it, just wanted to hang out with you guys for a little bit here, have a good old morning cup of joe, and just chat about all things Q. We'll see where the conversation takes us. We'll talk about what Q's done for us. Where would we be without Q? What information Q's brought us? Of course, we can talk about all the hate and attacks against it. We can share our favorite moments about Q having to do with it. I'll share mine, I'll read the comments and check out your guys's, and I'll share with you all the times that I was Q'd. My name or my Twitter showed up on the drops because, why not? That's something to be proud of, right? So I'll share that with you guys. And where to start? I guess we could start talking about the current status of 8chan or 8kun coming online. Of course, it's not up yet. If it was up, then pretty much the whole millions of people would know about it like that. But it's not up yet. No doubt that Jim Watkins and the crew behind 8kun are having a tough time bringing something like that up because there's very powerful people, very powerful circles that are putting a lot of resources and effort to keep Q from posting, keep people from reading it, keep people from reading 8chan, and keep 8chan or 8kun down. So, yeah, prayers to them for getting the job done and being safe doing it and getting it done quick. No doubt that they're doing it, but they're still updating us. Jim Watkins and Code Monkey, 8chan admin Ron, he's been updating us on Twitter pretty much every day, every other day. Jim Watkins, he live streams from his YouTube channel pretty much every day, and it's good. It's good that they're taking the time to update us, and you can hang out with Jim Watkins on his channel. He's a cool guy. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always fun-loving, He doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He's a cool guy. So that's that. And once 8kun does come up, we're hearing that it's going to be an anonymous text board that's built on blockchain technology. So it's going to be much better than 8chan. 8kun will be. Much more impenetrable or unhackable. They won't be able to take it down as easy. Maybe even all those shill bots will have a tougher time posting on it. And not just that, but I fully expect, if it doesn't happen, then that's that. But I do expect Q to start posting again, or people post through Q again once 8kun's up. So let's just be patient. Patience is a virtue. So there's that. And attacks, man. Attacks are still ongoing. They've been ongoing since day one, but we're still getting articles every few days out of whether it's the Huffington Post or whether it's Vice or whether it's this or that. There's a lot of attacks against it. Just horribly biased, horribly written pieces that are trying to turn people off to it, make them not want to research it for themselves, and then of course just give them the talking point in their mind of what they think it is. They're trying to, in the media, they're trying to segment people that follow Q, call them like Q people, or segment them into that box that everybody in the public will think of them as such. And then we're seeing a lot of little pieces of information seep out through underground channels that look to be fake, quite honestly, look to be something that just confuses people that are looking into this stuff and new with it. Like claims that these people are involved in Q, or Q is this, or Q is that, or blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know, you just got to be careful, It's always good to go back to drop one, read it for yourself all the way through. I do that every so often, is go back and, recap. And then it'll help you understand things from the bigger picture. But, let's go back. Let's reminisce a little bit. Let's be a little nostalgic. Let's go back and talk about what Q has done for us over the last 2 years. And what Q has really brought us, a few things. Number one is an incredibly informed and aware segment of the population. Not the whole population, unfortunately, but a segment of it. Those that are open-minded enough and humble enough to dig into the drops and research it and get the picture of it. An incredibly aware and informed segment of the population. And this wouldn't have happened. I mean, especially for me personally, I can attest to this, is that if Q wouldn't have been here for the last couple of years, then my understanding of a lot of the finer details surrounding politics, surrounding political figures, surrounding organizations, etc., I would have a lot less of an understanding. I would have a lot less of an understanding of how the intelligence community operates, how a lot of these deep staters, political puppets operate, just a lot of these things, right? And the same could be said with thousands and thousands of other people out there. They wouldn't be quite as aware. So when people say things aren't happening, you know, oh, nothing's happening, Q must be fake or a LARP or blah, 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 or I'm getting disenfranchised or disillusioning Q because I'm not seeing the big bad arrests that I want. You know, they just tend to get caught in their little confirmation bias and their own little world, and they don't really see things for what they are. So Q has brought us a lot. There's been a lot of increasing consciousness in a lot of peoples. And not just the increase of consciousness and awareness, but also a feeling of hope, a sense of positivity. It's really confirmed for us, and the reason why we're getting hope is because it's showing us that there is in fact good people. There's good people, call them patriots, call them whatever you want to call them. There's people who are working for the all rather than working for themselves. There's people that are trying to do that great work for everybody within the power structures, the upper echelons of society, within the intelligence community, within the government, within the Department of Justice, within maybe even corporations. There's good people, you know. Logically, if there's bad, there's good, and, you know, makes sense, right? That, yeah, there's a lot of evil people that have infiltrated into power structures of society, but there's good there too. And the good people have been kept very ignorant for a long, long time by those bad people, and they're starting to wake up to that. They're not very happy. They're not happy at all that they've been kept out of the picture, even in their own groups and organizations, and they're waking up to the evil just like all of us are. So they're doing something about it in the government, in the intel community, in these sorts of places. And I mean, it's a huge task they have to change things from the inside, but Q has given us faith that's happening, right? And that's why so many people are excited about it. That's why so many people are so freaking passionate about it that they're doing, I don't know, all sorts of weird, interesting things. And they say all sorts of, you know, passion. They're very assertive about it because it's giving them that sense of hope. And that's sort of why people, if they don't understand Q or the community, or if they're fresh to it, they can get caught up by that belief that Q is a cult very easily, when it's definitely not. They get caught up with that belief that Q is a cult because they see the people's passion for it, and they don't understand that. They don't understand the bigger picture of how much darkness in the world there is, but also how much potential in the world there is. They don't understand that. So they think Q is a cult. They don't understand the people's passion behind Q who do understand those sorts of things. So it's brought a sense of hope. It's brought a sense of increased awareness. Hell, let's be real. It's brought a lot of people in the mainstream media jobs. That's what it's brought, a lot of them. They call us grifters for trying to just like figure out ways to, you know, share the truth. And heck, the mainstream media journalists are the real grifters. They're the ones getting paid to lie. So keeps them employed. That's why they, deep down, those mainstream media shills, they love Q. Keeps them employed. And not just that, but Q's gotten us censored AF. Q's gotten us so censored, so shadow banned. That's a good thing. That means it's legit, of course. They wouldn't be censoring. They wouldn't be trying to shut up things that were, shall we say, detrimental to the powers that be. So that's sort of a proof right there is how censored it gets. And gosh, with how attacked it is in the mainstream media, but also it's like an instant demonetization on YouTube. If you say the word Q or QAnon or put it in the little description, their artificial intelligence algorithms will catch that quick and they'll demonetize your stuff. And it's also, you know, with as much propaganda and as much brainwashing they try to put out there through the media about Q, calling it extremist and cult-like and fake LARP, etc., that's really, it's getting down into the subconscious of people. You know, I'm seeing in different communities I'm sort of in, different conferences and events that I go to that aren't Q related, I try to bring up Q and people get triggered. You know, their propaganda has been semi-effective. But of course, with the way that truth resonates these days, they can attack all they want in their media, it's not going to work. So people are, of course, finding those who talk about Q eloquently, logically. They're finding those who talk about Q. They're finding the Q information is just spreading like wildfire. And we've seen that over the last couple of years. It's just wildfire, man. And that's one more thing that Q has brought us, is Q has brought myself and a lot of those that have the YouTube channels and the websites and the blogs, it's brought us a lot of attention. It's brought us an incredible amount of attention, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And that was one of the reasons, in my opinion, that they started Q. They're like, okay, we've got all this shitty mainstream media, the shitty controlled opposition, alternative media out there. We need a way to start getting people towards the truly independent, those that aren't bought and paid for and can say what needs to be said. So they started posting through Q. It started gaining notoriety and legitimacy, and people started following it. And then through Q, they started linking to people's tweets, linking to people's YouTube channels, linking to, you know, putting eyes on the, I guess, journalists that they wanted to put eyes on. And then also, just naturally, through thousands, millions of people following Q, then they became interested in, okay, who's talking about Q? I want to find what's latest and greatest and, you know, go through people's interpretations and find more information. So, like when Q started posting, before I was ever Q'd or Q was ever Qing people, we'll say like November, December 2017, it was like I could get 10,000 views in the first hour of a video being posted, 100,000 views in a day. I was getting 1,000 subscribers per day for a few weeks there before a lot of the censorship hit in early 2018 and the shadow banning hit and all that jazz. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for the increase in attention that brought myself and just everybody sharing the same information, because it's really about the information, but Q is turning people towards the avenues that we're getting the information out. And for those of us who chose to be that avenue, there you go. So a lot of things Q has brought us, man. And Q, there's a good comment there. Q helped us not to go lynching. Q helped us divert our energies, our distraught, in a much more creative and resourceful, helpful capacity. A lot of people were getting pissed. A lot of people were getting disenfranchised. I know in 2017, before Q, a lot of people getting angry. And they were just waking up to how things were. And they didn't, without that hope, you know, without that sense of things happening behind the scenes for the betterment of society and humanity, without that hope, then you're like, oh God, you know, either you're super scared and fearful and your life starts deteriorating, or just get angry or something like that. And yeah, Q brought a lot of cathartism. Q helped a lot of people focus that energy towards something better. And a lot of people started creating their own blogs and channels and independent media, little platforms and outlets because of Q, the inspiration that Q brought us. So it's been, you know, 2 years of just incredible things going on in people's hearts and minds with Q. And where would we be without Q? Where would we be without Q? Let me get that out right. Just not there. You know, gosh, here at the end of 2019, without it, let's be real, we wouldn't have hardly a clue as to the 4D components, if you want to call it that, or the multi-dimensional chess components of what's going on around the White House and within the three-letter agencies and all that. We wouldn't have a clue. And of course, the President Trump, would not have the support he has, because you'd have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that wouldn't have a clue as to what's going on and would probably think that Trump wasn't doing anything, so they would become disenfranchised with him. So the president would not have the support that he has, and we wouldn't have, again, the aware citizenry and people doing something about it. Just a lot of things. A lot of things without that program that is Q. So we can, I guess, segue now into the information that Q brought us. The information Q has brought us. It's evolved. You know, of course, with the operation that was Q, Q's not a person. Q's not a person. Not gonna lie, it's like a little thing that grinds my gears within me when I see people refer to Q as like a he or a person, because it's not a who, it's a what. Q's a program. Q's an operation. So if you think of it that way, it actually helps you analyze some things. But what they've been posting through Q since 2017, of course, changed. At the beginning of 2017, when they first started posting, it was like a big, it was very big picture, you know, because they were trying to connect the dots for people that were just unfamiliar with all this stuff, say any average Joe from the normie public reading these things. They had to connect the big dots. So a lot of it was about the general powers that be, the names involved, central banking came up, you know, shall we say, establishing the communications, establishing the way that the Intel people talk to each other, because of course the Intel people are talking to us, so we kind of had to learn how they talk and their methods, their modes of communication. So it was a lot of learning for us in the very beginning. And I'm sure a lot of learning for them too, whoever was posting through Q. They're trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to get people's eyes on this? How are we going to lay these sort of incredible ideas onto people that might be newly familiar with it? So it was very big picture. And throughout 2018, it became to be more specific. We were learning, you know, the group form, the community form, the following form, shall we say, for Q, and thousands of people started following it. So they didn't have to be as big picture. It became more of like an alternative news service, which is what they wanted it to turn into. So it became a news service because Q garnered the following of thousands, millions. Then it became, oh, when Q needs to post some sort of information, boom, there's your news service. Within, 5-10 minutes of that Q post dropping, then you have thousands of people sharing it to Twitter and to YouTube and to Facebook. So, boom, you've got your news service right there that didn't cost you millions of dollars. Well, I guess it kind of did with the NSA, but it's much more truthful than the mainstream media, we'll put it that way. So it turned into this news service, and then it turned into, you know, towards the end of 2018, when we became pretty good at seeing the way that the mainstream media was used and working and all this stuff, and Q didn't have to guide quite as much, as it turned into sort of an inspiration sort of thing. So you remember at the end of 2018 when the rallies were happening, and when the rallies would go on, Q would be posting a bunch of people's tweets from the rally. You know, it was a huge source of just fun and inspiration and keeping people on the track, right? And they've used Q, and they've used this operation in so many different ways to educate, to inspire, to draw attention towards things. Of course, there's the disinformation is necessary idea, which I'll do probably future videos on, but I think a lot of people misinterpret. And they used Q to make the deep state, I guess, shall we say, make bad moves or fumble the ball. You know, put out some planned disinformation in certain ways to trick the deep state and capitalize on their unfortunate moves. So a lot of ways they began doing this, and a lot of, you know, articles, books, this will go down in history. And people really analyzing it to see how it transformed. And of course, we don't even know if we're at the end yet. We have no idea how it's going to take on a new shape from here. Because of course, if and when Q starts posting again through 8kun, I mean, it's going to be bigger than ever before. You know, it's going to be bigger than ever before. And could be leading to the Q getting ass. That's still a fork in the road that we haven't even gotten to yet. That with all the things going on lately and how focused we are on trying to figure out what's going on in the world without Q, it's something that a lot of people might have forgotten about is, yeah, that Q still needs to get asked, huh? So when Q comes back, starts guiding us again through maybe the FISA D-class process, and something happens to force that Q, then incredible. We're still getting Q proofs. Yeah, somebody just commented right there. Q proofs every day. We are. The NSA's Twitter account's pretty incredible. You'll get a hint now and again through the NSA's Twitter account. Donald Trump's own words. I mean, just listen to the speech that he gave to the media, to the country, when he was confirming the ISIS leader being killed just a couple of days ago, al-Baghdadi. If you listen to his words carefully, you'll notice a lot of things he said. He said al-Baghdadi died like a dog. And, you know, just go back through your Q history books there. Turn to page, this in your textbook. Remember the whole McCain situation with Q's hints of the dog and et cetera, the metaphors going on around McCain's situation. Then McCain's connection to ISIS, of course. So Trump saying he died like a dog in his speech. There you go. And a few other things he was saying as well. So, and his rallies, the rallies are still going on. All sorts of little, these people are sick. He says that all the time. These people are sick. So we're still getting our proofs. And it's gonna come back and just be bigger than ever before. And I'm seeing a lot of you guys comment about a Vice article that dropped today. Still hate, still getting attacks, Q is. And they're using angles like me and my particular research into UFOs or interest in UFOs to do that, and they're twisting all the sorts of words. I'll talk about that Vice article later on in a separate video, later today or maybe early tomorrow, because it's bad. And they took a lot of what I said out of context, and I wasn't even really being told I was, I guess my replies were going to be used in a Vice article, but nevertheless, we'll talk about that later. Let's see here. Where can we go from here? What are some common misconceptions about Q? I've been kind of going through that in this conversation here. People misinterpreting the disinfo is necessary thing. Here's one helpful critique I hope to give you here. Some constructive criticism. I'm seeing a lot of people that, and it could be bot accounts or something that I'm just, you know, could be, but I don't think they're bot accounts because I've checked the accounts and they seem to be well-intentioned people. But I'll see like a hashtag QAnon in their Twitter bio or stuff on their timeline that says QAnon supporter or QAnon researcher, but then they'll be posting like flat earth is real stuff or these things that like don't, if you actually read Q's posts from number 1 to, I don't know, 32, 3300 now, from day one, like you'll find the information that actually contradicts what you are professing and saying. So, in other words, I'm saying, make sure you're well versed in it. You know, make sure you know your Q before you start putting out all these things that are sort of making you contradict yourself. And let's learn to discern. Go through that discernment process a little better. You know. I think I mentioned near the beginning of this video, there's a lot of little look to be fake news and clickbait articles that get shared around and people just assume that they're the truth when there's really nothing to corroborate it and they didn't do any due process of verifying the information or whatever the case. So we just have to, it's an ever-evolving, ever-changing process, is bettering ourselves and becoming better thinkers and better doers with that. So let's just keep that up. And man, we'll finish up here. Let's go through our favorite moments, man. Our favorite moments of Q over the last 2 years? And you guys tell me in the little comments there. I'll be reading. I'll tell you mine. First of all, gosh, there's a few. I'll share with you all the ways that I was cued. Those are always favorite moments, right? Always favorite moments when the times I got cued or saw my name show up in the Q drops, or I even had a tweet one time that was stolen. It was a copy and pasted tweet of mine that was cued. I'll tell you about that. But before that, let's discuss just a few things that were incredible. I mean, number one, when Q did post about a lot of people talking about the proofs. The proofs were always incredible, man. From the beginning, when they were very subtle, where you maybe saw like the plus 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 in the Q drop, and then 7 minutes later, Trump tweets the plus plus plus. That was within like the first week. And then it got just more and more, again, as the Q operation evolved, the proofs could evolve, and they got more obvious. Patton's patch. Remember when Vice President Pence posted that photograph to his Twitter account? He was meeting with some, I believe, SWAT team members down there in Florida, and it was Sergeant Patton's patch that was posted to Vice President's Twitter, and then he got reprimanded for that, man. It was sad, but that was quite obvious. Giant Q proof there. And what's funny about that is that whoever uploaded it to the Vice President's Twitter account, they color graded it. They photoshopped it because the patch wasn't that bright. It's actually like a dark orange, and the photograph that was posted onto the Vice President's Twitter was like a bright orange. So they went through the process of editing it and getting it all nice and pretty for the Twitter account. So, you know, it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. They wanted people to see it. That was a good one. The Q baby. Saw some people posting about the Q baby. For sure, man. That was in North Carolina? It was in one of the Carolinas, wasn't it? Just a few months ago. Family holds up that big Q baby. A little piece of tape on the O to like signify the Q. And then Trump points it out in the middle of the rally. Beautiful baby. They even turned it around so Trump even saw the Q. It was, you know, again, not an accident. So all those proofs are great. Some of my favorite times just involve the information that was shown, because I was like, yes, they're getting into this stuff, man. Incredible. The space program drops, and the consider the vastness of space. Space programs exist outside of public domain. Those drops made on September 18th or 19th, 2018, last year. Those were huge because those confirmed just massive things. In just a couple little drops, huge ideas were confirmed and massive things were said. There's only been about 7 or 8 drops that have to do with UFOs in some way, but they've all been huge, and those ones in September of last year were the biggest. And what's really funny to me about that is the very moment that those posts were made, I was in Orange County, California, and I was about to speak for the Orange County chapter of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. I got some opinions about that organization, but nevertheless, I was speaking for their Orange County chapter there that night that Q made those drops. And I was actually at dinner with Dr. Robert Wood. If you're familiar with him, if you research UFOs or ufology at all, you might be familiar with him anyway. He's an incredible guy, incredible brain of his. He worked for 35 to 40 years at Douglas Aircraft that became McDonnell Douglas. So he was an aerospace engineer. He worked on NASA projects and all these things. And Dr. Robert Wood realized how compartmentalized he was out of the black projects, the more secret space projects, right? Because Dr. Robert Wood worked at McDonnell Douglas at the exact same time that William Tompkins did. And they didn't even know each other. So once Robert Wood actually left the aerospace industry, he started waking up to a lot more stuff regarding UFOs. And actually, while he was working at Douglas Aircraft, he led a study, or McDonnell Douglas, he led a study on UFOs for the contractor. And it was a pretty tame study. But interesting stuff. Anyway, I was at dinner with him. At dinner with him, and some other people started getting all these texts on my phone. Holy shit, Jordan, did you see these drops? Did you see? I'm like, no. Checked them out, and I even did like a quick live stream on my channel right before my talk at MUFON there that evening. So that was a good moment. Another good moment was the once Q went mainstream in August of last year, in 2018, when I decided to do Comedy Central and went down there. That was just, man, that was an experience. That was a trip. You know, they wanted to bring me down there for the Jim Jeffries show. They did a quick segment on Q and trying to crap on it and conspiracy theories, blah, blah, blah. Just say a bunch of asinine, crazy stuff. But they brought me down there. I agreed to do it and went down to Hollywood for a couple of days. They wanted to put me in the Standard Hotel. the production crew or whoever led it did. They wanted to put me at the Standard Hotel. And I said, no way. I didn't even tell the producer that I didn't go to the Standard Hotel. She thinks I went, or at the time she thought I went. I just got like a Airbnb last minute, some podunk Hollywood apartment, and stayed in that. And then showed up the next day to where they were filming. Get this, they were filming at a freaking pizza place in Hollywood. A pizza place! Of all freaking buildings they could have this freaking segment filmed in. So I go from my Airbnb to this pizza place. I keep my phone in my pocket. I audio recorded the whole thing in case it turned into a complete mess. And I was brought there with 3 other people to do this segment with Jim Jeffries. He was asking us all about Q and different things. 2 of the people were flat earthers, and then we had like a person over here that was sure that JFK Jr. was alive and saying all these, it was like all these crazy people with me. Like if I wasn't there, that would have been a total shit show. People rag on me for doing the Comedy Central thing still sometimes, and I'm like, you don't understand. These mainstream media outlets are gonna say what they want to say regardless. So you might as well try and talk to them and just make sure your answers are, what shall we say, unfuckwithable. I don't know, or record it, or different things. Like when I did the WAPO interview, I definitely recorded that for sure. Phone's gonna die here, gotta plug it in. So, yeah, I mean, might as well. I decided to talk to this little Vice reporter, but guess what? I can screen cap my answers. I can, you can out the outlets when they try to mess with you, right? So, that's that. And man, what else? You know, what was really incredible to me one moment was the plane that got stolen. Well, first of all, that missile that got shot off the sub near Whidbey Island, Washington in June. Remember, the media tried to say it was a helicopter that was photographed at like 3 in the morning, but it was clearly a missile being shot off near Whidbey Island, and then that was actually an assassination attempt on the president. And then, remember, just a couple months later, that plane got stolen from SeaTac, and then, oh, it was a suicidal guy that stole the plane and crashed it onto this island. The suicidal guy with 0 flight experience before. No, that's the reason that was one of my favorite moments, is because it hit really, I mean, I'm like, it was right around the friggin' area I grew up. And so I wasn't actually in the Pacific Northwest though when that plane got stolen from SeaTac. I think I was flying home from somewhere the very next day. So I saw that and I was like, holy crap, I'm gonna be going through there tomorrow. And that whole situation, you know, again, if we didn't have Q, we would have no idea what was going on with that. But because we had Q, then we were able to ascertain, wow, that wasn't a helicopter that was photographed, that was a missile that was shot off from a probably hacked submarine and sent towards the president. And then Q went and responded, or whatever military intel went and responded to the deep state a couple of months later by hijacking a plane, making it seem like it was a, I don't know, a suicidal guy that took it, and then crashing it onto Ketron Island. And if you do a little bit of research as to what sort of properties are on that private island and who's recently bought properties there, it's interesting. So there's that, and man, let's chat about all the times I was cued. Let's do and then we'll finish up. I'll just tell you guys, if you don't know, a lot of people are new to this Q stuff, and they're new to my channel, and some people, I don't know, they like try to get into, I guess, arguments with me about Q sometimes, and I'm like, I've been there since like day one. I know quite a bit about it. And they just don't realize that I've been there since day one, so it's like a, disconnect. But anyway, first time I was cued was in that Serial Brain article. It was like an indirect cue in that Serial Brain article that came out in May of 2018, the one that started that whole, InfoWars drama, where InfoWars really began to get outed, because Serial Brain wrote about how InfoWars is trying to subvert and undermine Q, and how I was, unknowingly at the time to me, even reading the Serial Brain article, kind of opened my eyes to it. But InfoWars sort of kind of tried to use me in that undermining of Q. But anyway, that was cool to see. That was cool. That was neat, because that was the first time that we got free energy and secret space programs mentioned in something that Q linked to. So again, it's about, the information that's Q bringing. That's what gets me the most excited, is when that disclosure ball gets pushed forward by Q, and Serial Brain quickly referenced me as being like, my expertise is on free energy and secret space programs, but I also talk about Q. So Q linked that Serial Brain article. Boom, that was neat. Next one was, there was a few last year. Q linked a comment that was on one of my tweets. I was getting closer. I think this was right after that Serial Brain article. I was like getting closer and closer to getting actually cued. But Q linked a comment that was made, or a reply that was made on one of my tweets. So it was like they had to have been scrolling my Twitter to see that comment and link that comment. There was a Reddit article that was posted, and the headline of the Reddit article was about somebody that was on my Twitter researching one of my posts I made, I think on Rainn Wilson, and like some weird things that he was saying on his tweet. Anyway, my name showed up on the drops for that, because Q posted that Reddit article. And then when I interviewed with WAPO too, when I interviewed with WAPO earlier this year, I was getting a lot of flack for that, which is okay. Everybody's got an opinion. They were all giving me their opinion. That's fine. But, an Anon asked Q on the boards, is Sather talking to WAPO a bad thing or a good thing or something like that? And Q basically said, just look at WAPO, look at who they are and who they connect to, and the Amazon CIA links, and et cetera, et cetera. And then just a couple weeks after that is when Q actually linked my Twitter. Q cued me for the first time. So I take that as being like a little heads up, or like a head nod to me, that they cued me. They linked my Twitter just a couple of weeks after I did that WAPO interview, because I was getting so much flack for it. So I think that was just sort of like a little bit of support they were trying to give me there. And I mean, that WAPO interview, it really didn't turn into anything. It didn't get that many views. And again, when I talk to these mainstream media journalists, and yeah, they're so slimy. They're so slimy. Talking to WAPO is awful. They weren't even, they were too scared to even show me their face. Whoever journalist I interviewed with there, too scared. They didn't give me the questions beforehand. They said it was against their policy to give their interview questions beforehand. Just so slimy. Anytime you talk to these people, you've just gotta, tell the truth. And tell the truth in ways that you can't be attacked for. So, yeah, that was neat. And then the last one was just a couple of months ago. That's when I had that tweet that was copy and pasted. I had a stolen tweet that was queued. I'm still like this much butthurt about it, not gonna lie. President Trump retweeted this Twitter account, an obscure Twitter account, retweeted it, and the profile picture of this Twitter account was the two kids from the Hampsteads case. If you're familiar with the Hampstead cover-up controversy over there in the UK, it has to do with satanic child abuse rings. And the Hampstead case, you can, search it on the internet. You'll find probably the children's testimony, maybe some videos about it, etc. Anyway, when President Trump retweeted this Twitter account that had the profile photo of those Hampstead kids, I said, holy shit, that wasn't an accident. He retweeted that account because of that profile photo being the Hampstead kids. This is like a confirmation of satanic child abuse rings existing and them, President Trump trying to fight that with people. So I tweeted that. That's exactly what I wrote out. I was like, whoa, wow. President Trump retweeting this wasn't a mistake. Hampstead kids here, blah, blah, blah. It's this like obscure, I don't even know what the handle was. This Twitter account copy and pasted my tweet I made about President Trump doing that 5 minutes after I made the tweet. And then 10 minutes after that, Q linked that other Twitter account that copy and pasted my tweet. I saw that. I saw Q link this Twitter account. I clicked it and I read their tweet and I'm like, I just tweeted that. I just tweeted that 5 minutes ago about President Trump retweeting the Hampstead kids, profile photo. I just tweeted that. And then I clicked on this Twitter account. They were following me and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. What a one to take there, right? My stolen tweet getting queued. But, part of me doesn't think that was an accident because that's some hardcore shit to draw attention towards yourself for exposing. So in other words, if Q would have linked my tweet directly about that sort of hardcore shit, satanic child abuse rings, my Twitter account probably would have got like that. That would have been some hardcore attention drawn my way and probably wouldn't have been too strategic at that point in time. So I'll take the assist. I'll take the assist for that one there. Yeah, protection, as a lot of people saying, for sure. So I ain't mad. That much butthurt, but I ain't mad. Yeah. Here's a comment. After I posted the Trump and Putin vid, my channel exploded. The Trump and Putin trolling the world video is one of the first whiteboard videos I did on my channel in about May of 2017. That was about 6 months before Q. It's like April or May 2017. That was 6 months before Q, and that's another one of my favorite moments is that I was almost, I wasn't predicting Q. I didn't know Q would come on the scene in the way it did. Had no idea. But I had a feeling something just like that was happening and going to happen. So Trump and Putin trolling the world. I did that video in April, May 2017, basically saying that a lot of the stuff we're seeing in the public eye, a lot of the optics is not actually what's going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of different stuff going on behind the scenes. And I said that Putin and Trump are probably, trolling the world. They're playing some multi-dimensional chess to capture and eradicate the deep state. I said that, again, early 2017. Now, in October of 2017, this was the day after Trump made his calm before the storm statement, October 10th, 3 weeks before Q started posting, 3 weeks before Q started posting, Trump made his calm before the storm statement in the White House with all the military generals behind him. When I saw that, I said, okay, this is something. I'm gonna try to decode this on my little whiteboard. So I did a video called The Calm Before the Storm and decoding that. And I said, basically, this is what I think the storm's gonna be. I wrote, gosh, what did I write? You can find that video and just see what was on the board. I said basically the storm's gonna be some disclosure of political corruption. I think I wrote FISA abuses are gonna be one of the things, and a lot of other stuff. And pedogate, I think too, like a lot of this, a lot of the dark occult stuff. But then I wrote on the board, it won't be everything. Like it'll take some time to get the weirder stuff out there, like the, UFO space program type stuff, or ancient history, cosmic philosophical consciousness understandings, things like that. It'll take some time to get those out there. But I was pretty on. I was pretty freaking on with that. And then again, 21 days later is when Q started posting. So it was as if I was just, I don't know, I got hit with some divine connection, some download right into my brain, and I put that out. And it was funny early on how a lot of the shills, a lot of the shill attacks were trying to paint Q as, they were trying to have blame it on somebody because they wanted to suppress it. So they were trying to blame Q on somebody, and people were like, some of these shills were trying to blame it on me, like, oh, Jordan's Q. It's not some high level people. It's this person, that's that person. Some of the shills were trying to claim it was me, and I'm like, no, it's not me. I was even doing videos. I would be live doing videos on YouTube as Q would be posting. I'm like, obviously, it's not me. I ain't that smart. I don't have that type of military precision. So I just read it and talk about it. So yeah, man. And another classic thing. Remember Microchip? That was a good moment, I touched on that earlier, that whole InfoWars drama. You remember? Oh, the Joe M vids. Yeah, now I'm reading the comments. We're jumping around. The Joe M vid, man. Total honor to have a tiny quick clip of me for half a second show up in that Joe M vid. His Plan to Save the World vid, which, God, that has who knows how many, 5 million views at least, maybe upwards of 10, from people sharing it around and copying and pasting the vid. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Love you, Joe. And the InfoWars drama, Microchip, man, yeah, that was one of those online shills that were trying to claim that I was behind Q drops or whatever. And then Jack Posobiec was trying to claim Microchip was his source. Jack Posobiec connected in that little InfoWars groupie cult. So, weird stuff. Really weird stuff. In One American News' very first report they ever did on Q, this was in August of 2018 when that mainstream wave first started. One American News' first report on Q actually featured a quick clip of me. I don't know if Jack Posobiec, I don't think he had any involvement in that particular report, but they used a quick clip of me. I had no idea. They never even told me. And funny enough, it was a screenshot from my Calm Before the Storm video that I made before Q came out. And it was weird. It was a weird report that they sort of like insinuated through their editing that I was again behind or involved in Q drops in some way. It was weird. There's been a lot of weird stuff going on in those alternative media communities, especially a lot of stuff going on around InfoWars. But anyway, what else you guys got for me? I think we'll finish up here. This was a good chat. This is a good way for me to reminisce with you guys, get a little nostalgic, which I can be from time to time. Yeah, man, we'll see when 8kun comes up. Days, maybe a week or two. Nevertheless, let's just be patient. And once Q starts posting again, it's gonna be a trip. So that's something that we need to prepare for. And we'll do as much sharing of this information with your friends and family as you can. In the meantime, they might look at you crazy now, but sooner or later they'll come around. And since Q has started two years ago, I've had a lot of people call me crazy in the beginning, but going to event after event, I've talked about Q at pretty much every single event I've been at, which is thousands of people in person, and then of course everybody on the internet. A lot of people called me crazy at the beginning, and later on they'll go, huh, interesting. Maybe not just about Q, but it could be any topic. A lot of people are doing that with UFOs, incredibly enough. They're coming around and they're going, oh, that crazy shit I heard you say 2 or 3 years ago. Doesn't sound so crazy anymore. So keep being that crazy mofo and have the courage to do it, man. Be yourself. Be your authentic self. And sooner or later, people see that information and they'll start wanting to connect with you about it. So that's all for this one, everybody. Take care. I'll be back very soon. Peace out.